Hi, everyone, and welcome to Simple Marketing Academy. This is where small business owners, entrepreneurs, and solopreneurs come to learn very simple, cost-effective marketing techniques so they can gain more clients, make more sales, increase their revenue, and grow their business. My name is Jill Fox, and I am the co-owner of Fox Social Media. Along with my son, Tanner J. Fox, we help businesses, practices, and brands to market, advertise, and grow online. And we've been doing this since 2010. So happy to have both the Simple Marketing Academy podcast and the Simple Marketing Academy show on YouTube so that we can help all of you as well. So let's get started.
In this video, we're going to be going over the TikTok benchmarks and where you should be as a brand on TikTok with your different metrics, whether it's views or followers or how you're growing. Let's see how you stack up. So TikTok right now is currently still out engaging other channels. So that means Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. The engagement rate is a lot higher per follower and just in general than it is on other platforms. The follower counts in general are growing, especially with those mid-size accounts growing the fastest. And that's usually anywhere in between the 10,000 to the 50,000 follower range. And that's who is seeing the most growth month over month. And brands are starting to post more and more on TikTok, with the average brand posting about 2 videos per week now, which is up from last year. But that is still less than that of Facebook and Instagram. Now let's jump into the first benchmark. The first benchmark is how many videos are you publishing per week? Right now, the average brand publishes about 2 videos per week. It's 1.9 if you're looking at the median also. And the top 25 of the most active brands publish videos at least 4 times per week on average. And 30% of brands publish less than once per week. Now let's compare this metric just based off of account size instead of just all accounts in general. So the larger accounts, the more likely they are to publish more frequently. So you can see that correlation there. The smaller accounts, that 0 to 5,000 follower range, averaged about 1 video post per week, while accounts with the 1 million plus followers posted 6 or more times on average per week. So you can see that having more followers doesn't necessarily make you post more, but maybe it is the opposite, where the more you're posting, the more you're growing. Now, when it comes to engagement rates, on average, the engagement rate on TikTok is about 3.4%. And you can see this distribution kind of fall off at the end, with only 6% of brands reaching above that 10% engagement rate. And about 22% of brands average less than 2% across all their videos. And one factor to keep in mind here is when people are boosting a post, that sometimes that engagement rate can be a lot lower. And that's what we think we see a lot on that 0 to 2% is them boosting that post. Now, if we look at engagement rate by view, so if we're doing this off of account size, these mid-sized accounts see the smallest engagement rate, funny enough. Brands with 1 million plus followers have an average of 6% engagement rate per view, and that's about 50% higher than the brands that are 10 to 50,000 follower range. And accounts with less than 10,000 followers had engagement rates closer to 3%, which is about half of those bigger ones. And you have to think the lower amount of followers you have, the easier it is to have a higher engagement rate. But the bigger you are, usually the more difficult it becomes, unless you are one of these massive accounts. And with engagement rate being a pretty big factor in most social media algorithms, you have to understand that the better content is probably going to have higher engagement rates, which is going to lead to these bigger accounts. So it kind of goes hand in hand. Now let's look at views per follower. The average brand earns about 12.8 views for every 100 followers they have on each video they post. And the top 25% of brands earn about 35 views per 100 followers per video on average. And the low end, more than 40% of brands earn fewer than 10 views per 100 followers on each average post. So again, it can determine whether you're on the For You page or if you're just on your account where people are coming in viewing that video. So this is something that you can look at to compare to yours as well. Now, views per follower based off of the account size. The larger number of followers you have, the lower the views per follower. So accounts with 5,000 followers average about 43 views per 100 followers on each video. Again, obviously they have a lot less followers, so you have one video do good, it's going to skew that data. So you can kind of ignore that 0 to 5,000 follower range. And you can see that ratio really decreases when you get between 200,000 followers and 1 million followers, where just averaging 4 views per 100 followers on each video is normal. So it's not surprising to see this data. Now, when we jump into engagement rate by follower, so on a per video basis, the engagement rate by follower for the median brand comes in at 2.6%, and about 20% of brands earn an engagement rate by followers of 8% or more. And on the lower side, nearly half of the brands averaged an engagement rate of less than 2%. And like we said at the start of the video, TikTok engagement rates are about 4 times higher than Instagram, and exponentially more than that for Facebook and for Twitter. Now, if we look at this same stat, but by account size, you're going to see brands with larger accounts see lower engagement rates by follower on average. So accounts with 50,000 followers or less see their average engagement rates come in at about 3%, while the larger accounts with 1 million plus followers see their average engagement rate per follower be about 2%. And again, anything per account size, per follower like this, you're usually going to have these bigger ones drop a little bit. It's kind of expected, but you can play with this data and see how you compare. Now, when it comes to the average monthly follower growth, obviously this is going to be a little bit skewed towards the larger side. The bigger you're growing, usually the more you can snowball. But across all account sizes, brands on TikTok are growing their followers at least 2% on a monthly basis, with smaller accounts with fewer than 50,000 followers averaging monthly growth of about 3%. And technically, accounts larger than 1 million are growing at 1.9%. And one extra benchmark I threw in here that might be interesting is how many hashtags per video are these accounts using? Everyone loves hashtags. There's kind of a up in the air of how much do they actually do? Is it more for categorizing the video? Are you getting a lot of views from it? But brands include about 4 hashtags per video on average, with only about 40% of brands including 5 or more hashtags, and 16% of brands including 1 or fewer hashtags in their video. So these are kind of the main benchmarks when it comes to TikTok if you want to see how your brand stacks up to others when it comes to TikTok.
If you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to us at foxsocialmedia.com. On our website, you'll find that we have done-for-you services through Fox Social Media, where we help businesses, practices, and brands to market, advertise, and grow online. And we've been doing this since 2010. This is a done-for-you service. We also have services for very small business owners, entrepreneurs, and solopreneurs who can't afford done-for-you services. And this is a very inexpensive program called Simple Marketing Support, where we're there to teach you, support you, and answer your questions. You can find more about all of our services if you go to foxsocialmedia.com. Thank you so much for joining us today, and we look forward to seeing you in the next episode.